everyone, I'm Rebecca McLaughlin-Duane, and this month the Abu Dhabi International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference has come to the UAE's capital. Thousands of people showed up, amongst them CEOs and oil ministers, all exchanging ideas on how to secure a brighter future for the energy sector. Later in the show, we'll head to Lebanon to meet one man who's single-handedly trying to fix the electricity shortages and the constant power cuts in his hometown. How? By starting his own energy company. But first, Salim Essaid takes the wide view of the oil markets and assesses how fluctuating markets can potentially impact the diversification plans of regional countries.
In what's one of the biggest drops since the oil price collapse of 2014, the global benchmark Brent has fallen more than 20% since early October. Contributing factors included a surge in supply and increasing concerns about a global economic downturn. Slowing demand is of particular concern, not least in China, which is the world's biggest oil importer and the second largest crude consumer. Looking ahead to 2019, some market commentators are not expecting a dramatic uptick in prices compared to the year before.
I would be surprised if they were higher than they have been this year, and perhaps there is a correction going off at the moment, so perhaps the prices that we're seeing now is more representative of what we'd expect in 2019.
Despite recent falls, according to PwC, the average oil price of around $70 seen in 2018 means that in revenue terms, it was a good year for MENA governments overall. That said, Gulf countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia are laying plans to diversify their economies away from a reliance on oil. The kingdom's Vision 2030 strategy outlines increasing non-oil industry trade and ramping up investments in sectors from tourism to manufacturing. Removing oil as an economic driver will, in the long term, help regional governments more easily meet their fiscal spending commitments and be less vulnerable to large cyclical swings. But preparing for a post-oil era is not without its challenges.
I think we're talking 10 years plus, but it's important to keep making gradual progress in the right direction on that diversification agenda. Because I think whilst it will take a long time to get there, when it comes, I think it will happen very quickly.
The litmus test of the coming years, some say, will be how committed governments in the region are to pushing through the all-important reforms and opening up of their economies to foreign investment and privatizations.
The ADIPEC Annual Strategic Conference is one of the largest and most influential oil and gas events in the world. And doing deals on the ground this year at the four-day event were more than 40 national and international oil companies. That's a rise of 23% on attendance last year.
Sealed with a handshake at ADIPEC, the Abu Dhabi national oil company ADNOC agreed to explore more opportunities for collaboration in the natural gas and liquefied natural gas sectors with Saudi's national oil company Aramco.
We are looking at global investment in LNG, going down the value chain between the two companies. This is, of course, as part of the strategic partnership between Saudi Aramco and ADNOC. We started with signing an agreement in the refinery in west coast of India with 3 Indian companies, and Saudi Aramco and ADNOC as partners as well.
NASA also spoke of the planned flotation of Aramco, slated for 2021 and with an estimated value of more than $2 trillion, saying that it was on track, but would be determined by market conditions and not happen before Aramco's purchase of a majority stake in the Saudi chemicals and materials group, SABIC.
All the needed elements to facilitate the listing of Saudi Aramco, the government in terms of reforms, regulatory markets, everything was done and completed. Of course, what is happening right now is potential acquisition of SABIC, or BIF shares in SABIC, 70%, this is how much they own. And that needs to be completed first.
As part of its broader strategy, Abu Dhabi's national oil company is ploughing $45 billion into its downstream investments to make a hub of its Ruwais petrochemicals complex. At the event and sounding upbeat in the run-up to OPEC's December 6th meeting, the UAE's oil minister spoke to Inspire about how industry spending in general had significantly improved.
It's not an issue as it was last year. We have seen ADNOC announcing for the next 5 years an investment in the range of $132 billion. And the rest of the companies are going to announce many projects during ADIPEC. So I think a few months back, everyone was worried about lack of supply. Now everyone is worried about an oversupplied market. I think it's going to be neither. We will keep the market as much as we can, well supplied and well balanced.
What do you believe will happen at the meeting next month?
I think it's going to be, as always, a good meeting, and we will do whatever necessary to keep that market balanced together.
What's the biggest concern for you as oil minister?
I'm not worried about the market fundamentals. The things that are outside what we do are the things that we don't control, but we deal with them and we try to correct as much as we can. But there are things, geopolitics, there are risk of trade wars and all of these things that are outside the market fundamentals, and we have to deal with them, but they are a risk that is outside our control.
Last question, are we ready with renewables and alternative sources of energy?
All forms of energy are working together. We believe that we need all forms of energy. The renewables is going to be the highest growing, but that doesn't mean that it will replace hydrocarbon.
Ahead of OPEC's gathering, when ministers will decide on production policy for the next 6 months, it was the Saudi oil minister that everyone was trying to keep pace with at ADIPEC. During the event, oil prices remained under pressure amid concerns of oversupply, and the Saudi oil minister said that a production cut of around 1 million barrels a day could balance the market.
I think things may change considerably between now and December, so we have to wait for the best data that's available and projections.
However, agreement and joint action with non-OPEC member Russia could prove the sticking point, with the oil ministry taking more of a wait-and-see approach to reducing supply. Undeterred, Saudi's minister told Inspire that he was optimistic about them moderating output.
Well, I think Russia is happy with what has worked the last 2 years, that's for sure. And it's not just the minister, it's the leadership of Russia. President Putin has said it publicly, and the companies have also said it publicly and have told me privately that they're now convinced that this is the way to go going forward.
Going forward, whether it's a slash in output of as much as 1.4 million barrels or smaller cuts that will be pushed through, all will be revealed when the cartel meets in Vienna in the coming weeks.
In Lebanon, electricity cuts are a daily occurrence, which has an inevitable impact on the lives of those living there. Inspire went along to the Bekaa Valley to meet one man whose spark of an idea has supplied 65,000 people with an energy boost they really needed.
Lights on, lights off. Lights on again, but who knows for how long? That's life here in Lebanon. The country, which takes a creative approach to power lines, faces between 3 and 14 hours of government power cuts each day. Whether the cuts last just seconds or hours on end depends on whether you can afford an oil-powered generator, which can cost over $100 a month.
We have that because the government has a monopoly over the production of electricity. It's not like in London where you have the choice between multiple suppliers. No, you have only one company, it's the government company, they don't give you electricity, and if there is another company that would like to come in to the market, sell electricity to the people, well, it's not allowed by law.
In the picturesque town of Zahle, in Lebanon's beautiful Bekaa Valley, one man is trying to change that. Asad Nakad runs Electricité de Zahle, founded in 1923 and granted a license to produce and distribute electricity before the government monopoly came in the late 60s.
We pay our taxes, and we have the right to have electricity. The Lebanese are currently paying 2 electricity bills. Us, we came and said, we want to produce electricity, get rid of the generators, and provide 24-hour electricity.
Here's how it works. When the power cuts, EDZ engineers switch over to electricity supplied from their small power plant just outside the town. With just 58 medium-sized generators, they can provide all the extra power needed by their 65,000 customers. And that comes without the usual price, pollution, and fluctuating supply of a small generator.
Lots of household equipment are damaged due to power supply that's coming from the local generator supply when EDL is out. While here at EDZ, they are paying like between 35 and 40% less than the other places in the country.
And locals are happy, both with their reduced bills and the constant power supply. So why not use the same system everywhere?
It is a doable solution anywhere in the country, and it's very easy to do. This power plant took us around 40 days to start from zero to a 24-hour power supply.
But it's not replicable while the government maintains its monopoly. Zahleh's historic permit is unique. Other Lebanese towns have applied for the right to produce electricity. So far, all have been refused. So for now, unless you live in Zahleh, pay up or it's lights out.
Well, it's time for me to sign off. Before I leave you, here are some industry professionals getting energized on social media.
Edgar from Mexico is a captain who's worked at sea on oil rigs, including those in UAE waters, for 13 years. Mohammed in Saudi uploaded this snap of him on board the Zuluf oil rig located off the kingdom's northeast coast. And Adnan from Algeria captured this moment from his daily work at the Bir Seba oil and gas field, adding that he loves his job.